Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well today. I realize it may not be morning when you're viewing this, but it's morning for me, and I haven't played yet today, so I decided to start right out with some stuff from the Arban book. Today we're going to be looking at the section called Syncopation. I find this one pretty amusing. It's on page 21 in some of the most recent editions of the Arban book. And number one is quite slow. I don't know if I would even call it syncopation, but I'm going to try and play that at the marked tempo, at the highest marked tempo, and give you a little bit of an idea. So, like I said, that doesn't really feel like syncopation to me. It feels kind of very stilted. So if I played it faster, and of course, by the time you get to number 3 in this section, he's going faster, a lot faster. But practicing it slowly like this is something that most of us don't do. And it reveals a lot of extremely helpful things to know about our playing. So I'll give you some hints about some of these things. What we're doing is sustaining sound, as I've said many times before. So what I'm actually playing when I play this is and exactly as if I were talking, da, 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 da. And I mentioned before, notice when you're doing this, whether you're trying to help by kind of freezing your breathing muscles and huffing, which is a big problem for a lot of players. We can be doing it a lot and not even notice that we're doing it because it's like a natural body reflex. There's another natural body reflex that many people suffer from, and I mentioned it in one of the previous episodes, of a glottal stop. So you're closing your coughing valve when you're articulating. Ta, 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 ta. And you should never do that when you're playing the trumpet. But for many people it happens automatically and they don't realize they're doing it. So I don't want to confuse you, but if you're having trouble with articulation, these are some of the first things to check. Are you blowing a steady stream of air? And are you trying to help with your throat by opening and closing? Or are you letting just as Roger Voisin used to say, the tip of the tongue, just the tip of the tongue, start and stop the air? That makes it very, very simple. Now that's not the only way to do it, but let's see if I can do that by warming up here. Wow, I find I really have to concentrate to not let my throat help. My throat's trying to help instead of just. So when I have that problem, I'll do what I'm doing right now, and I'll go off the horn and I'll do a faux whistle. If you want to do this while actually whistling, that's great. But if that's too difficult, kind of a ghost whistle is really, really helpful too. So you want to listen. What is the air actually doing? Of course, when I'm doing that, I'm using way, way more volume of air than I would need to use playing the trumpet. And I'm actually blowing it quite a bit more forcefully than I need to do when I'm playing the trumpet. So when I'm playing the trumpet, it's actually quite gentle. Now, the air itself has a lot of energy in it. It's got a good spin. I hope you can hear that. I'm blowing a quiet stream of air. Can you hear how much energy is in that airstream? But I'm not blowing hard. That's really the basis of great trumpet playing, and certainly the basis of good articulation. You want that airstream to be instantaneously zippy, right? And it's not by just blowing harder. When you blow harder, you kind of upset the balance of everything. So, to review, sustain, ya, then try it on the trumpet. And notice, are you doing it just as easily as if you were blowing a stream of air or speaking? When you start to go that direction, even a little bit, your playing is going to start to improve. Now, pretty quickly in this section, and I'm only going to spend a couple of minutes on this, because I want to get to the next section today, which is the dotted rhythms. That's very interesting to me. So in this section, you get to this kind of quasi-jazz feel. I think it'd be really helpful if we exaggerate that. So what's happening is not da 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 da. This is what trumpet players tend to do. We tend to push or kick, punch the air to get the accent. And all you need to do is actually let the air go more easily. So there's no backup of pressure. There's just, we're kind of tossing the air. And then we get that nice accent. I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit more. I'll play the next one. This is number 4. Now, I want you to try and feel, to recognize in your playing, are you kicking the air? Or are you just releasing it? How can you tell? Well, most people are thinking about, I need to tongue harder in order to get that accent to happen. Da da dee da da. And actually, it's the air that's doing the work here. If you tongue harder, then you end up resisting the airflow more, and then you have to blow harder. And now your lips are working harder to resist the air in order to find the balance to make the sound, and everything starts to go out of balance. So it's really important to bring everything back to where it's nice and easy. Even that's too much energy. Good flow. So it's a ha rather than a t. The tongue has to be very precise. You can work on that. Work on the sound. Have fun, as I've said before, with the quality of the sound and the release. Enjoy it. See what you can do. Getting a little tight. That's better. Now, keep in mind, I don't want you to confuse yourself here, but there are so many different ways to do this. And what I'm doing is pretty straightforward, a short note, staccato, separated. So there's a short burst of air, which is released by the tongue. Then on the longer notes, on the quarter notes, I'm throwing the air. And the tongue is doing the same thing, just releasing the air. Now, if I wanted to play those accented notes shorter, then the tongue can stop the air. So I'd be going, saying toot. I'm exaggerating that so you can hear it. But it's actually very light. And remember, it's on a constant, even, smooth, gentle freely flowing, supported stream of air. So you're just going and letting that very, very smart little tongue valve do its work. Don't try and do everything. Let the tongue do its work and just keep that air nice and steady. And that makes it easy. Now, this is really important in jazz styles, and I don't consider this syncopation to be very jazzy. To me, this feels kind of like the Paul Whiteman band in the 1920s, that kind of ricky-ticky, what you might call white jazz, which is an imitation of the jazz music which we really developed from black culture in America. And then the white culture picked it up and said, oh, that's fun, let's do that. And they kind of made it different, if you understand what I mean. I hope I don't get anybody upset here, but the fact is, we all bring our own background and our own sensibilities to it. And this is a very straightforward, kind of controlled kind of style. Whereas jazz style is much more loose. And that's, to many people, to me, that's very appealing. Now, why am I talking about this? Because if I played this in a jazz style, I wouldn't be doing this French détaché, Paris Conservatory style, right? I'd be doing something more, instead of da 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 da, not as strict as that, da 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 dee da da da. So I'm just letting go, and that's way, way easier. Now I got something that's lighter, it's more agile, it's more bouncy. So please give yourself permission, give yourself freedom to explore all the different cool sounds that you can make when you're working on this. Don't paint yourself into a corner. Don't put yourself in a musical straitjacket, right? Explore and listen. And of course, you're going to hear somebody do something and say, how do I do that? I'll give you an example of this, and this will carry over throughout your trumpet playing. There are different ways of swinging. So when we get into working on the next section, which is the dotted rhythm, then there's a problem, because we can feel it kind of as a triplet or as a more strict literal dotted 8/16. We'll get into that in the next section. And when we do that, that's a style thing. It creates so much musical interest to do that. You just want to know what you're doing and be doing it on purpose, right? So if I swing and I just play straight eighth notes, so I'm going do da do da. Do da do da do da 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 da. I can even ghost notes. Do da 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 da. All offbeats. Da dee da dee. Do da do da dee da dee da dee da dee da. That's all the kind of breath control that you're learning in this strict syncopation style, right? It's got to be loose. So don't get too stiff with it. Play around with it. Okay, have fun with this. There's a lot more that can be said, but I'm going to move on to the dotted 8/16, so I hope you'll join me for that episode. And don't try and do everything at once. Just enjoy the process and be a happy kid and enjoy playing the trumpet. And no matter what level of player or what situation you're in, it's all about bringing the enjoyment of music and the enjoyment of actually playing to other people. Have a great day. I'll see you later on. Bye-bye.